My name is Liz Ford. I was born in Newton, Massachusetts. I went to school when I was 17. I went to school in Portland, Oregon at Reed College. It's also the same year that I took up pool because I didn't really like going to class, and it was going to be something. It didn't have to be pool. It could have been chess. It could have been comic books. I just happened to. There were the most cute boys in the pool room, and I was 17, so that's where I ended up. That I grew up in a family of obsessive hobbyists. Um, my dad is a psychiatrist, but he's an obsessive audiophile. He loves classical music. He had, I don't, thousands and thousands of records. He and my stepmother are obsessive photographers. They travel around the world going to photo meetings and photo shoots. My dad's is on the board of the Leica Historical Society. He's that in love with cameras. And my mom is an obsessive figure skater, an ice dancer, and that's what I did when I was probably two to 16. Newton is a very is a upscale, wealthy town. I'm a nice Jewish girl from Newton, and who ended up in the pool room. And it's funny because on the WPBA, my two roommates, Alice Rim and Suyen Rhee, I think we're probably the only children of doctors in the WPBA. We all have degrees from good universities. We all ended up in the pool room, and I'm not sure how that happened, but we all found each other once we got on tour. If I was ever near or saw a pool room, I don't remember. I think the first time I ever saw a pool table was at my grandmother's country club, and my brothers wouldn't let me play. Um, and then the next time I saw a pool table was at Reed when I started playing, and my dorm mates wouldn't let me play because I was pretty bad. I was so bad that I couldn't hit the cue ball. Like I would whiff the ball. I thought for some reason that I tried to move both hands at it. So I think it was. I'm a very very competitive person. So I think it was definitely about a sense of pride, not wanting to be made fun of by my male dorm mates, and that really spurred me on to get better. I'd love it if it were. I'm very passionate about pool, but I think it's a competitive streak in me that makes me want to be good at whatever I choose to do. And I think that when I was in college, there really weren't too many women who played pool in my pool room, and I thought, hey, this is a way. I don't see too many other women who are that good at this, so maybe I can be a pro. Maybe I can, be better than everybody else at this. And it was naive and luckily naive, because I don't think I would have stuck with it if I knew, how good the professional women played and how hard it was to get better. But I think that everybody, when they start out, is cocky, and it's probably a good thing. Once the learning curve is very sharp at the beginning, and I did get better than my roommates, and I did beat them, and I was sort of the best player at my college. And then I was really cocky. I went out into the world of pool in Portland, where I met my first teachers and first real pool players, and I think that cockiness remained for a while. Like, even though, despite all evidence to the contrary, like I still had an attitude about it, and but I think it served me well in a way, because I don't think I would have. I think my attitude and my cockiness were so high, like I needed to work really hard to make my game match that at the time. And I don't think I would have done that if I didn't have this sort of sense of pride. Oh, I finished. I the pool room closed halfway through my junior year, which completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Not related to the fact that that's when I started getting good grades. It just happened to, it was a coincidence, happened to coincide that the pool room closed for a year and a half during my last year and a half at school. And I really turned up the volume on my studies and ended really strongly. Everyone at Reed has to write a thesis in order to graduate, and so it's a year-long process. And I was a psychology major, so I spent the year conducting experiments and then writing a 100-page thesis about it, which was I was really glad to have that experience. It pushed my boundaries a little bit of what I thought I could do. But then after that was done, all I wanted to do was play pool. And during that time, actually, I had my first big tournament was the ACUI regional championships. That was like that's the collegiate championships. The first year I went was a disaster. It was really the first competition I'd ever been in, and I didn't understand nerves, and I didn't understand that like what you do in practice isn't going to translate immediately into what you do in competition. And even though I was a figure skater for 14 years, I didn't really compete very much. So that was a shock. But I think early signs of my determination were there, because the next year the pool room was closed. There was no qualifying tournament to get to the collegiate regionals. There was no pool room I was playing in. I petitioned the college to send me to Seattle to go play it again, because I was the only one who was interested. Nobody, everyone else had forgotten about pool since the pool room closed. Here I was in the office asking them to send me there, and they did, and I got second, which I almost won. I was completely nervous, and after the first year, completely unsure had no expectations, and there was really only one other girl there who played well, who had, I think she'd even won the national championship, and I missed some ball to beat her in the final, and I mean, much to her surprise, because I was pretty terrible back then. I mean, better than I could hit the ball. I could hit the cue ball by then, but so really, like, I look back on it and I don't really know what I was thinking. Like, where did the passion, where did the determination come from to keep competing, even though there was no pool room anymore? And I think then I was pretty hooked. I mean, no one at the college even knew that I had gone and gotten second in this thing until I didn't tell anybody, and until a few weeks later they found out and were completely shocked that I'd gone there all by myself. And so right after college, I took a job in a bar that had pool tables so that I could practice, even though I didn't really know what. I had books. I love to read pool books. I have a whole shelf full at home, and so I would just practice things out of that, or kind of pick up scraps of what good players would tell me. And it was that place where I first met Glenn Atwell, who was one of the top players on the West Coast, a lifetime student of the game and very talented teacher. And he didn't really give me lessons. He's a pool player, not good with schedules and stuff, but I would just take whatever scraps he would throw at me about pool, and I find that the things he told me are still some of the most important things I've ever learned, even though it took me years to understand why they were important. So he was really my first teacher. What a great teacher to find. He's a fantastic player. February 2001. So what a time to move to New York, right? It was actually Glenn who told me that if I really wanted to be a pool player, I needed to get the hell out of Portland because it was too much of a small town, and there wasn't enough pool there. There weren't enough good players, and so I kind of figured it was either, he said, Texas, Florida, New York, or LA. And so I had family in New York, and I had always wanted to live in New York, so I picked New York. And it was hard, the hardest thing I've ever done, probably, to move here all by myself. It was not an easy thing. Very lonely, very difficult, even though Boston's a city, and I'd ridden subways before, and people walk really fast there, and I got all that, and pushing and shoving was fine with me, but I think making connections here was really difficult. And I don't think that, I laugh about it now with the friends that I now have that were hard to get along with at the beginning. But I don't think people knew what to make of me when I moved here. Little 12-year-old looking girl who's insane about pool, who moved to New York to play pool, who, I was okay as a pool player, but, I certainly have come a long way even since then. That was 8 years ago, and I thought I was pretty good, but I look back on it and that was pretty terrible. I've suffered from clinical depression most of my life, and it's hard for me to. It's like putting on a mask that blocks you out from the rest of the world, and it makes interacting with the rest of the world very painful because you have all this pain on the inside, and you don't know how to communicate it. But I've gotten a lot of help over the last 5 years or so, and really learned that it's okay to say that. It's okay to, if you're not feeling great that day, you don't have to pretend. You can just say, hey, I'm not feeling great, and that no one's gonna, it's better to talk about it than to shut off. And I spent a lot of my life sort of shut down, but luckily that's kind of over. I'm very happy to say that that's something I moved on from. It makes it very hard to interact with people, because for some reason, I think depression goes hand in hand with being antisocial or sort of socially phobic. I think for people who are depressed, social interaction requires a lot of energy. I don't know why that is, but when in reality, that's one of the best things you can do when you're depressed is to interact socially. It's like exercise. Exercise is one of the best things you can do for yourself if you're depressed, but who the hell can drag themselves out of bed when they're really depressed to go exercise? So, with age, I've learned to deal with it better, and I'm not ashamed to say I take medication, and I see a therapist, and it's made my life a lot better, my pool a lot better. Pre-shot routine. I think that came out of anxiety and worry. It's like a coping mechanism to deal with nerves. I feel lucky that I incorporated that very early. I think it was actually Glenn who told me about walking into the shot. It was when around the time Allison came over, and one great thing about Glenn is that he, as a student of the game, he was always looking for the new thing. So at the time, I think he was showing me stuff was when Allison came over, and she was saying, these snooker players, they're amazing, they walk into the shot and it's the same way every time, and they've got all these checkpoints. And I think in the beginning when I heard that, I was really snookery and, twisted to the shot. And that actually took me years to recover from. And it wasn't until I had other teachers who helped me get away from that. And recently I've tried to sort of do away with that a little bit, because in tight quarters it doesn't work well, and I wanted to pick up the pace of my game some, which I have done. But it's only in the last couple months that I've gone back to really walking in on the shot. My friend jokes that I walk into it from my apartment to get down over the ball. But I think in the last 3 tournaments I've played in, I've been very meticulous about walking in. It allows me to separate my my plan from my action. You know, I make the plan of what I'm going to do on the table, and then I go into 100% execution mode, and that begins with when I walk in on the shot. And something that I picked up in the last year, which has made a huge difference, which is something that's big in other sports, is breathing. So now I coordinate walking in on the shot with my breathing. So when I'm standing behind the shot, I make sure to take a big breath in and then let it out. As I'm walking in, I take a breath in and settle over the ball. I do my practice strokes while I'm breathing out. I take a big breath in, pausing at the cue ball before I shoot. Big breath in, and I don't pull the trigger until I'm full of breath and I've sort of completed the process. And while that sounds like it might slow you down, I found that it's actually kept me on a better pace because I'm doing the same thing every time. I'm not worried about, am I going to pull the trigger now? Is now the right time to do it? Am I really going to make this ball? I'm really, really focusing on my breath. Not, when I'm walking around the table looking, I'm planning things. I'm thinking what I'm going to do with the cue ball. I'm, using my brain, actively planning things. But when it comes to execution, it's all about breathing for me now. Unfortunately, yes. I don't know if you read Zen Golf. Those are called whatevers. Or anyways, whatevers. I don't remember what they're called. Read the book, it's good. But there's sort of throwaway shots where you do something even though you know it's not gonna, something's wrong, and it never works. Maybe once in 100 shots you get lucky, and it goes in anyway, or you still get position. But most of the time, if you feel like something's wrong, it will go wrong. Hitting a ball that you're not sure about just to get it over with brings me to something I'd love to talk about, which is Mark Wilson. He is the assistant tournament director for the WPBA. That's how I met him. He's a great teacher in St. Louis who his strengths are fundamentals and stroke training and mental game, specifically positivity. Teaching, he can actually teach you to be positive, which he's had a big impact on me. But he is, in terms of these throwaway shots where you hit the ball even though you know it's not going to work, or you're too afraid, you know you're not going to make the ball anyway, so you just put a crappy stroke on it. That is his fundamental philosophy, that if you just put a quality stroke on every shot, no matter what the difficulty, no matter what the situation, in the end, you're going to rise above 75-80% of the people you're playing. Just because he knows it's all about delivering the cue. Has nothing to do with the balls, the cue ball. The secret to pool is about delivering the cue the way you want it to every time. So he will sometimes, I'm not supposed to say this because he's the tournament director, but sometimes he came up to me before my match with Guy Young in Florida, and he said, "Liz, wouldn't it be great if you just got up there and delivered the cue every time and didn't worry about missing, and really just put all your effort into making every stroke a great stroke?" And that's what I did. I didn't win that match, but it went pretty well. But that's just he's so passionate about delivering the cue right. he is someone he is, I think, my number one role model in pool. He is someone that has traveled the world and he's trained in the Philippines, and just keeps such a positive attitude, and gets so excited just about anything to do with pool. So a lot of the top girls have gone and worked with him. Jeanette and Karen and Gerda, I think, has been there. Sarah Rousey works with him. It's just, you go there to work with him. He's in St. Louis. And you come away so positive, and he's infectious. The way how excited he is about pool just infects everybody he teaches. I prefer to lose a match. I don't ever prefer to lose a match, but I prefer, if I'm gonna lose, well, first and best way of losing is to play your best and lose because the player played better than you. That's like the first tier. Second tier, I would say, would be to make all the right decisions, be good mentally, and just be off a little physically. Maybe you miss a ball, maybe you rattle some balls, but you feel good mentally, and you're not rushing anything, you're not panicking, you're making good decisions. Then you start to get in, those are like the two almost acceptable ways of losing. Then you start to get into the painful ways of losing, where your emotions get the best of you, and maybe you're afraid, and you make bad decisions, or you're really taken out of your own rhythm, or you shoot the ball even though you're not going to make it. I find that when there are matches like that, tends to snowball. Maybe one bad decision here, or one thrown away shot here, leads to more bad decisions, and then a complete lack of confidence. So I've had, I think every player has had matches where they just tanked, but I've had a lot of them where things just fall apart. But I'm learning to have more of a sense of humor about that, and I'm focusing a lot on my decision making and on putting a quality stroke on everything, and it does make everything easier. And those things those horrible matches where you fall apart happen a lot less. But that being said, traveling a lot and flying, there are times when you're physically and mentally not as sharp as you'd like to be. And, I definitely have lost matches from being tired, or from being fuzzy in the head, or muscle spasms in my back from sitting on a plane. But that's just, everyone has to deal with that. So you make the best of it. I turned pro in 2005, so 4 years. Every year I've made improvements in my ranking, even if it's only been one spot, from 34 to 33. I feel proud to do that because the level of competition in WPBA is getting harder. It's getting better. The level of competition is getting better and better every year. And I feel proud to be one of the people who's actually making improvements, because it's hard enough to stay where you are. It's hard enough to stay ranked 32nd, ranked 24th, with the influx of people coming in who are great players. Champions from Asia, champions from Europe. It's hard. It's a full-time job just to stay where you are in terms of ranking. So I'm very happy to be moving up. I think I finished the year 27th, and I'm thinking next year is going to be a good year. I'm feeling pretty good, and something has really clicked in the last couple months for me. I think I spent a lot of time worrying about all the stuff I don't know. I love to learn, and I love to try new things and try three cushion billiards and play straight pool, and I love to learn, read books, adopt new techniques. I think that I focused a lot on all the things I didn't know, as opposed to executing the things that I know well. So I think that I've solidified as a player in the last couple months, where I'm really confident in the things that I do well, but also hopeful for the future, because I do love to learn new things. And I will always be, as long as I'm playing pool, I will always be taking lessons, and I will always be reading books and trying new things. I see it as a lifelong education. I'm not taking lessons with anybody right now, but something interesting happened to me when I was in China for the World Championships last week. On the shuttle ride back to the airport, I was on a shuttle with Johan Reisink, who's a coach for the Netherlands, who travels around with the players, and I think he was the Mosconi Team Europe captain a few years ago. He runs boot camps and training centers in Holland, and was telling me about their training, which takes a more Olympic training style approach to pool. And I'm thinking that I might go over there maybe January to go train for a couple weeks. I'd like to be a role model for American players, because I think that it seems like the European players, the Asian players have spend a lot more time training in structured ways than we do in America. I think that Americans, in the eyes of the rest of the world, have a reputation for not working as hard, which I don't think is true. I think that we don't have the same structure of coaches and having our country behind us, paying for us to travel around the world, that other countries do. And I think that it's going to take some upstart American players to try to do that on their own, to sort of set an example for that it can be done. And I think that's something that I aspire to do. I'd love to travel around and train in different countries, and just learn. I love to learn. I just want to learn more about pool. Have I said that? Johan was saying that it was 10 hours a day for 5 days, and then you take time off. He called it, I haven't heard about this before, but it's called super compensation, where you train really hard to get up here, and then you're sort of emotionally and physically drained, so you drop a little bit. But when you return to baseline, your baseline is a little higher than it was before. So you keep sort of training really hard, taking a break, training really hard, taking a break, so that your baseline level rises up. And I think that's something that's used in Olympic training for other sports. I'm thrilled to hear about training centers and Olympic style training for pool, because it's something that I really want over here. I would love to have there be some place I could go to, like, have someone kick my butt for 10 hours a day, training me, making me shoot stun shots one whole day, making me work on straight pull patterns for 10 hours in one day. So I'm excited to try to go over there and see what that's all about. Even though I know that, one training session over there, one two-week visit isn't going to turn me into a champion, but I'd love to be able to incorporate their theories and training methods into what I practice. I also love to teach, so I'd like to start learning more tools that will help me teach people to play. Mostly beginning low intermediate players. When I working with Mark Wilson, he's got some really great training tools that are really basic, but very valuable to players of all levels. So I'm really, with his permission, I'm taking a lot of what he gave me and passing it on to other people, which gives me the confidence to teach, because I know I'm not a world champion, and I'm not even a top pro, but maybe I wouldn't have the confidence to say, hey, come work with me, I can help you. But for him, I mean, he gave me some really great tools that I've applied to my own game to help me. And they're all based on, the student working really hard for themselves. It's not something you can tell someone and they're instantly going to get better. It's just tools for helping people help themselves get better. So I enjoy passing that on. And I'm really passionate when I teach. I get really excited to see someone improve over the course of even half an hour. And when I teach, I use video feedback. I make them a DVD. I send them a summary email about, So remember the elbow drop I was talking about? Well, you can see that in minute 3 of the video. I'm very involved when I do it. And I probably don't charge as much as I should because of the amount of work I put in. But it's something that I get really excited about. And I think I think people like to take lessons from people who have passion, and they don't like teaching people who won't work. After having a couple people who weren't really ready to work, I kind of make that's kind of my first point in the conversation with someone who wants to take a lesson, that I expect people to work hard. I've done pretty well in the last couple years to raise money through sponsorships, through donations, basically lessons, parties here and there. I will basically do anything that's even vaguely pool related to try to make a living at it. I see it as part of the big picture, that even if I write copy for a Pool Dogs website for their products, even these little blurbs, because it's pool related, it sort of fits in with everything else. I'm very hesitant to take a throwaway job or to do anything that's not even vaguely related to pool. But I will if I have to. Definitely Danny Baruti helped me. It's always been nice. Tony's. I never took lessons with Tony because I couldn't afford it at the time. But he's always been very supportive. I do have sponsors, and I have contributors. So I would really like to thank everyone who's helped me this year get to tournaments, live the dream. So the way I've done it this year, I have my official sponsors, which I will name now. Dr. Gary Borge, DDS, out of Sacramento. PoolOnTheNet.com, Rob Staskowski. Skyline Billiard Club, which is Rob Oman and Sammy Wu. RT9 Designs, which is Linda Palt. Chips to Fix, which is Ron Mason out of Amsterdam Billiards. Mike Feynman at Pool Dog has been a great help to me. But this year I've also started seeking contributions on the internet from sites like Facebook and through my blog. And I was actually able to go to China for the World Championships solely on contributions that just regular people gave me, which is it's an amazing experience because I turned down a lot of Asian tournaments this year because I wanted to sort of focus on being at home more. And so the whole year went through and players went to the China Open and the World 10 Ball Championships and the Amway Cup. A lot of them got burnt out by the time the World 9 Ball Championships came around in Shenyang, China. And I was able to get a spot there, and decided that after watching everyone else travel around all year, I was ready to do it again myself. And wasn't really sure I was going to accept the invitation, because I knew I needed to raise money. So I put up something on Facebook saying that I was thinking about accepting the invitation. Within 24 hours, I had 75% of what I needed to go. That was even before I had accepted the invitation. So they kind of, they spoke and said go to China, and so I went to China, where I finished 17th, which I was really, really happy about, because my only other trip to Asia was the Amway Cup in Taiwan last year, and it was it was a hard experience. It was a new experience. It was not my best showing, so I was really happy to do much better this time. So yeah, I was able to go there based solely on regular people, pool players contributing to me, and that was really an amazing experience. It's given me a lot more confidence to go train and to go have the dream to travel the world and play, because I think that there are a lot of people that want to do that, and maybe it's not so high up on their list of dreams, but it's something they see other people doing, and it strikes a chord with them. And so I really appreciate everyone who it struck a chord with, and who wanted to see me go play. And had some conversations with some players in the area over the past year, who really boosted my confidence, just by giving me little pep talks and telling me that they respect what I'm doing, and it's given me more confidence to go pursue this little dream of mine. I have a lot of them, but I play in a lot of men's events, and I have to look up to Karen Corr for that, especially in this area, especially with her 5 Joss Tour wins. Unbelievable. 5. No other woman has ever won a Joss event. She's won 5. I love that. I know for a fact that she likes playing the men better than playing the women. Sorry, Karen. I really look up to her because she does it for the love of the game too. Boy, I'd like to be the female Rolf Souquet, I think. One of the best pieces of advice I got was actually from Mike Davis, one of the top U.S. players. I was asking him whether I should be gambling more. I really wanted, it was a time when I was struggling, and I thought, what am I going to do to get better? I asked him, Mike, should I be gambling a lot more? Is that the way I'm going to get better? He said, well, you want to play tournaments, don't you? I said, well, yeah, it's what, play pro events or play the men's events or anything like that. And he said, well, then you should go play as many tournaments as you can. He said, last year I played over 50 tournaments. It's like, if that's what you want to do, if you want to be a tournament player and you want training to be a tournament player, then you got to play tournaments like it's your job. So the next year, that's the year I took, and it felt like it was almost being on the road. I played every Joss event and every Blaze event. I would go to Albany on a Saturday and drive down to Atlantic City on a Sunday just to get 2 events in. Granted, I got tendonitis and complete burnout, but I think that was in 2007. That was probably my year of biggest growth as a player, because of that advice. But that's what getting better is about, is taking, he could have given that advice to 500 people. How many people took that advice and actually did it? Maybe 3 or 4. That's, if you want to get better, then you can't just listen to the pieces of advice that people give you. You have to go do it. They're telling you that because that's something they actually went and did. You're responsible for making yourself better and for following through what people tell you. Yeah, something clicked in China. To be able to sort of carry myself and my best game, my almost best game over there, in front of, they're not hostile fans, but they're really rooting for, the Chinese are really rooting for the Chinese players, and they don't clap for you when you run out. They don't clap for you when you run out 3 racks. They clap when, your Chinese opponent gets ball in hand on the 9. So it's to be able to to be able to travel halfway around the world, to go into a foreign environment, and to succeed, to play well, was a really thrilling experience. And it really made me feel like, yes, this is what I want to do. So I think it's all going to build on itself. Success breeds success, and really looking forward to getting back to work. For one thing, I've taken this week off after China to rest because I needed it, but I'm pretty excited to go start practicing again, and I think I'm gonna do another full year of tournaments, Mike Davis style, next year, maybe 50 tournaments. Get a wrist brace just in case, but I'm pretty excited about it all. It's been great to talk today. Thanks for watching.